The Detroit Pistons got their rematch with the San Antonio Spurs. It did not go very well.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons for the last 4 years for the Locked On Network, been a credential media member over the last 3 years. I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential wins with college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Look, guys, I'm going to be real with you. The game ended. It's been about probably 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, actually. I've been sitting here staring at the screen. I don't know where I want to go with this. There's a lot of things to say. A lot of bad things to say. So, the first two segments are just going to be me talking about those bad things that we have seen in this Spurs game. And really, not just in this Spurs game, but we've seen over the last 2 weeks. But specifically to the Spurs game. So, go ahead, get ready, fasten the seatbelt, get your popcorn ready. We're going to be going for a minute here. The Pistons got their rematch with San Antonio tonight. A game that we know that they were very much looking forward to. We know something that a lot of us were looking forward to. And despite them cutting the lead to 7 at one point in the second half, that doesn't matter. If you watch the game, they got thoroughly dominated the entirety of this game. They got absolutely destroyed the entire game. They made a Fugazi late run, and that made the score look better than it even was. They got blitzed by the Spurs tonight, 121-106. And Victor Wembanyama, 39 points, 16 rebounds. He had 5 blocks. You probably had another 10 to 12 shots that might as well be written down as blocks. I don't know, man. Like, you got to give credit to Wemby. I mean, Wemby has been the best player on the floor every time they've played. Wemby is going to end up being, at some point soon, just the best player in the NBA. Like, I don't know. We would be doing this a disservice to recap this game and talk about what went wrong for the Pistons without saying Wemby happened. Like, it's really as simple as that. There's a lot. We can talk about a lot of things. I'm going to. But it starts with just simply, Wemby just took over the game on both ends of the floor. He completely dominated the Pistons. Right out the gate, he was blocking shots at the rim. Right out the gate, you saw the Pistons didn't really want to go up at the rim. Like, you saw them just throwing shots at the rim. Like, legitimately, it felt like at times they weren't even going for layups. They were legit just throwing the ball at the rim once they got around the paint because they were trying to get the ball up on the rim so fast because they were worried about Wemby, his shot blocking, and his rim protection. On the other end of the floor, he had Jalen Duren in foul trouble literally all night. He got him 4 fouls in the first half. He was hitting threes. He was dominating everybody. There was a possession that I really wanted, if I could, clip and put on the podcast. But there was one possession in the fourth quarter, or in the late third quarter. He sets a pin-down screen for Julian Champagnie. And because of this, because Wemby simply going towards the paint when he sets the pin down, Champagnie gets a wide-open three because 2 Pistons are so worried about Wemby, they both are just hugging him. And Champagnie flares out for just a wide-open three. Now, he missed it. But he just that kind of stuff was happening all night. A lot of it is just simply Pistons don't have an answer for him. They just simply don't on both ends of the floor. They had absolutely zero idea of what to do against him. And Cade Cunningham had another rough game. Last week when they played the Spurs, I said Cade won't shoot 5 of 26 again. Well, he didn't shoot 5 of 26. He shot 10 of 26. Still very inefficient. Now, after the first quarter, I believe he shot around 9 of 19. He was better after the first quarter, But not at any point did I think this was a good Cade game or a good Cade quarter. Like Cade struggled in this game. And Cade has had bad shooting nights. I've seen Cade have a lot of bad shooting nights. The Spurs are the first team I've seen since Cade's become great. Not back in his rookie season or his, during the 28-game losing streak. Since Cade's become great, the Spurs are the first team that I have seen that have sped up Cade and had Cade second-guessing himself. Had him second-guessing himself and not trusting what his eyes were telling him. You saw throughout this game that a guy like Cade, who's usually never sped up, no matter what kind of defense he's seeing, no matter how much he's being pressed, Cade may have turnovers, he may shoot bad, but he doesn't get sped up. If it happens, it's just because you outplayed him that night. It is what it is. He doesn't get sped up. And in this game, the Spurs absolutely had him. I don't want to be disrespectful by saying seeing ghost. But he was this is the first time I have ever seen Cade second-guessing himself consistently and not trusting what he's seeing. There was numerous times where they run a pick and roll or Cade gets to around the elbow, the high post area, get on his drives, and I'm going to say this because of Wemby. I mean, I think it's pretty clear it's because of Wemby's presence. Cade usually would find a way to get a shot up in that little short mid-range area or feel really comfortable snaking the pick and roll or just trusting what he's seeing. And there was multiple times where it looked like he was hesitant. He went to pick up the ball, didn't know where to go, looked like he wanted to go for a shot, then stopped, then looked like he wanted to pass the ball, didn't know where he wanted to go with it, then just turned it away. There was multiple times when this was happening, and it's the only time I've ever seen it happen like this. Again, I've seen Cade have play bad games. I've seen it happen. I've seen him miss shots. I've seen him turn the ball over. I have not seen him play that way because of something like this since he's become great. The Spurs and Victor Wembanyama were able to just... He did not feel comfortable at any point on the floor. And because of the presence of Wemby, and because Wemby had blocked him like 3 or 4 times and altered multiple other shots from him, he was second-guessing everything he saw once he got to the paint. So, you got to just give the Spurs credit. They've dominated the Pistons in 2 matchups. They don't have an answer for their best player. The Spurs have an answer for their best player, for the Pistons' best player. Cade didn't play very well. I will say this. This is something I talked about in the last, I think maybe 2 podcasts ago. Cade made 2 pull-up threes in this fourth quarter. He hit 4 of 7 from beyond the arc in this game. He's shooting around 35-36% on pull-up threes this year. When you're going against this type of defense and you're going against this type of coverage, Cade has to get up these pull-up threes. He has to get them up. He just has to. He was 4 of 7 on threes, 6 of 19 on twos. With the personnel the Pistons have and what the personnel the Spurs have, he's just not going to get very many clean looks in the paint. Now, he blew a few bunnies, but a lot of his looks were very tough. A lot of them. He got blocked in a lot of shots. A lot of his looks at the rim were incredibly tough. And it's because they're setting multiple bodies at him once he gets in the paint because they don't respect shooters. And they're going over the screens. They're playing drop. If that's how they want to cover you, you have to get up these threes. You just have to. The second 3 hit in the fourth quarter, after that one, guess what happened to the following possession? The Spurs, instead of playing drop, they blitzed the pick and roll. Now the Pistons got a 4-and-3 situation. They found an open shot. Cade has to... Once Cade starts unlocking this 3-point pull-up volume, that's the next step he needs to take. He's too good on the pull-up threes. He's shooting too well on them for him to not spam them when teams give him this type of look. Continually dribbling yourself into trouble, dribbling yourself into Victor Wembanyama's wingspan and his shot blocking and allowing the defense to do that to you over and over and over again when they're giving you this shot that you're able to hit. He has to get into the mindset of, this shot is something I'm shooting well, and I have to just spam it if this is something they want to give me. Cade should have got up 10-plus threes in this game with the way the Spurs were guarding him. He has to make that change. And if it's something that he deals with in the playoffs, I really hope he takes them in the playoffs. He worked all offseason on improving that. He worked all offseason on hitting those hedge gap threes, those split-second gap threes that you're given when you are playing against a show and recover defense or a drop defense. He spent all summer working on that, and he's hitting it now at a pretty high clip. Spam it if that's what they want to do against you. Too often he just dribbled himself into trouble. And he was not confident. He was not feeling himself once he got inside the arc. They had him confused inside the arc. He didn't know where to go. A lot of that was the pressure on ball combined with the off-ball pressure. They were sending sometimes late doubles at him once he started to put his head down to drive to the paint. And obviously Wemby at the rim. He has to trust that pull-up more and force teams to stop playing that coverage against them, because once they do stop doing that, now you can get back to creating advantages for your team, and that's how you can take advantage of that. So that's what, I mean, look, the Pistons got dominated tonight. I'm not sure if that even would have won the game. I'm not saying that was the big difference here, that all of a sudden Cade takes 4 more threes, now they win. No, Spurs beat them in every facet possible. Like they just beat them down. They did. But that is something, just removing yourself from this game, something that will be very beneficial for Cade, his efficiency, and the team's efficiency, especially once you get to the playoffs. Coming up, we'll continue to talk about things that we saw in this game. I'm going to move past Cade for a minute because there's a lot of other stuff that went down in this game that I want to talk about that just simply didn't look very good for the Pistons. We'll break it down coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win with college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits the need. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Look at odds around your team if they are in season. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Again, visit FanDuel.com. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Check out the description down below for the Everydayer Club, where you can get ad-free listens of Locked On Pistons, and also you can get access to the Locked On Pistons Discord server. Also, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we record the Locked On Pistons Squad Show live, where we record with Lindsey Huerter. A lot of you guys tuned in to today's episode, or I'm recording this on Thursday, but Thursday's episode, you guys got to ask a lot of questions. We weren't able to answer a lot of them. We went a little long, but we plan on making even more time for Q&As at the end of the podcast. So if you guys want to tune in live every Tuesday and Thursday, 1:30 on Locked On Pistons YouTube channel, and you'll be able to talk with Lindsey Huerter and get some questions in during the podcast. Let's get back to the Spurs game, man. I don't want to just focus on Cade. I already talked about how Cade played. Cade has to play better. He wasn't the best player on the floor. You got outplayed by Wemby. If your best player isn't going to be the best player on the floor, you're going to run into some problems, obviously. But the Pistons lost Ausar Thompson after 2 minutes into this game. 2 minutes into the game, Ausar went down with a non-contact injury. Now it looks like it's just simply an ankle sprain. But we've yet to get an update outside of that. We haven't heard anything. Actually, let me check the beat writers. It has been 45 minutes after the game. I'll say let's see if one of them tweeted anything about Ausar. 5 minutes ago, Amari tweeted, JB says there's no real updates on Ausar or Ron. Ron was dealing with blurred vision. So that's a little concerning that I think it's a little concerning that he can provide that Ron was dealing with blurred vision, but just can't give any update on Ausar. I hope if it's serious, that's if Ausar had a serious injury happen to where he's going to be out a while, forget the Spurs game. That's changing what we're going to be talking about with the Pistons season if Ausar's out. After Ausar left the game, you saw, the Pistons just were not able at any point in this game to stop the Spurs dribble penetration. Not at any point. They got to the paint almost every single time on almost every single possession for the majority of this game. Like Castle went crazy. It got to the paint over and over. Fox got to the paint over and over. Vassell, Harper, all of them were just, the Pistons couldn't stop dribble penetration. And if Ausar was there, does that mean they win the game? Does that mean, all of a sudden he's able to guard 5 people? No, that's not what I'm saying. But in the first matchup with the Spurs, De'Aaron Fox was 4 of 17 because Ausar was able to stop that dribble penetration. This one, De'Aaron Fox goes off for 29 points and 12 of 22 shooting. This game, watching this game without Ausar just paints the Pistons' lack of perimeter defense at the point of attack outside of Ausar and Ron. And you saw that really get exploited tonight by the Spurs. And you heard what I said earlier, Ron dealing with blurred vision. Ron also went out later on in this game. Now, this was much later in the game, in the second half, so it wasn't, again, I'm not saying it was Ausar and Ron were there the whole game, all of a sudden the Pistons win. No, Pistons got blitzed. But Ron did go down with an injury. He got poked in the eye accidentally by, I believe it was Wemby's thumb. He couldn't come back into the game. He went to the locker room. So I don't know how serious, and I'm not a doctor. I'm not sure how serious an eye injury can be. So I can't. I'm not going to speculate on anything. I just don't know what the severity of like getting poked in your eye, what that could potentially cause or whatever. So I'm hoping that it's not going to be too serious, or that it's like not something that keeps him out for a minute. But if he is out for a minute, and it looks like Ausar is going to be out for a minute too, the Pistons are going to be in for a tough upcoming schedule here, because those are your two best point of attack defenders. Those are your two best wing defenders. If you're down both of them, it's just going to be it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough for the Pistons. So whenever we get an update with them, I'll be sure to let you guys know on the podcast. I'm assuming we'll probably get an update tomorrow. I'll let you guys know. But aside from that as well, there's so many different ways I can go here. There are so many negatives. I'll say this. A positive that you can look at in this game, if you want to look at this like with like positivity glasses on, the Spurs aren't in the East. That's the best positive I can come with you guys with, or go at you guys with, is that the Spurs are not in the East. This is the last time the Pistons will ever have to play them this year. And if you do play them again, it means you made it to the NBA Finals. So hopefully you do play them again. But this is a very bad matchup for the Pistons, and the Spurs made clear of that. Very poor performances from just about everybody. Tobias, I thought, played really poorly. Duran, in his minutes, some bad decisions from him. Some bad fouls on Wemby. I thought the decision-making offensively was rough as well. And then you get to your guard rotation, and Daniss, Jenkins and Caris LeVert have been straight up bad now for a few weeks. LeVert's been bad for months. I mean, he's been bad for months. Daniss has been bad for close to a month now. It's been a few weeks now of Daniss just being bad. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. We've talked about Caris a lot. I want to give Daniss the benefit of the doubt because he had played so well at points in the season and earned himself a contract and is like a feel-good story. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he has not been good for a few weeks now. He was 0 of 6 in this game. Was missing. Again, we go back to like earlier when he was playing, he was making good passing reads. He was finding guys wide open. He was playing the point guard position very well. And ever since, like, last few weeks, he's just not making many passing reads. He's taking bad shots, tough shots, and turning down open guys. He hasn't played well. He didn't play well in this game, and it was rough. Caris, we know, he was 0-5 in this game too. He's been bad for a while, but we've accepted that he's just going to play no matter what. So, I mean, I don't even want to waste any of my breath talking about that at that point. One of the more concerning things that I saw in this game with the Pistons is they have not been able to they have not been able to get a hold of a team's or stop a team from bombing them from distance since the All-Star break. And the Spurs, they were 13 of 37 in this game. So you may think that's 35%. So you may be like, oh, well, you know, that's not too bad. They had 6-7 in the first 6 minutes of the game. First 7 minutes of the game. Spurs blitzed them in the first quarter 38-23. Like, even if the Pistons wanted to make it competitive after that, immediately giving up 38 in the first quarter, that many threes in the first quarter as well. Yeah, they made 7 threes in the first quarter, 7 of 13. And a lot of them were wide open. Like, I can't sit here and say that it's just luck. A lot of these threes are just simply wide open. Like, Wemby got a few wide open pop attempts because the Pistons bigs just haven't. Jalen Duren just wasn't doing a good job of getting out to him from beyond the arc. And then once Wemby started hitting threes, now Duren started jumping at pump fakes. Paul Reed was jumping at pump fakes. Isaiah Stewart was jumping at pump fakes. So that just caused a whole bunch of issues. The Pistons were helping way too much again, and then not recovering on their closeouts. They were giving up open threes, it felt like, every single time. This has been a problem for them for like 2 weeks now. And if you're going to be without Ausar and Ron, I think it's obviously going to get worse. And that's the most concerning thing for me. It's not the fact that the Pistons half-court offense didn't look great against the Spurs. The Pistons half-court offense isn't great. We know this. I know this. I wasn't expecting them to blitz the Spurs in the half-court. I get that. But you look at this game and you see the Pistons only had 10 turnovers. They had 14 offensive rebounds. They outscored them, second chance points. They made 12 threes, which is great for the Pistons. 12 of 28, 42% or 43%. So you're like, okay, well, why, they should be in this game. They should, honestly, if you looked at that and you told me those were the stats before the game, I would have said, yeah, the Pistons probably were in good position then to win this game. And it didn't matter. It just did not matter at all. They couldn't consistently stop the Spurs, which forced them to be in the half court way too often. And they went 23 of 59 on twos. If the Pistons are not going to get stops, if they're not going to turn a team over, if they're not going to get out in transition, if they're not going to get out in fast breaks, they're going to have a tough time. And they only had 12 fast break points in this game, and they only had 6 points off turnovers in this game. The Pistons aren't going to win games unless they win their way. And the Spurs, through 2 matchups against the Pistons, they haven't turned the ball over, and they haven't allowed them to get out in transition. They've dominated the Pistons in this regard. So the hope, I would say, is that you're going to hope that there isn't a team in the East that can replicate what the Spurs have done to the Pistons in 2 games. But it hasn't. This recent stretch from the Pistons, not just the Spurs game, these 2 Spurs games, but this entire stretch since the All-Star break, you've had some good individual performances. Like Cade's had a few good games. Duren's had some monster numbers. Ausar's had some really good games. That doesn't matter. The team in general has not looked nearly as good since the All-Star break as the team we saw before the All-Star break. And now you're potentially down 2 of your best defenders. You still got OKC coming up again. You're going to play Minnesota twice coming up here soon, too. I don't know, man. We're going to dive. We'll dive even further into all this in a future episode, probably next episode. But this was a tough game. This was a tough game. Another positive. Kevin Huerter, I thought, gave some really good minutes. He got a chance in here with Ron and Ausar going down. He played 17 minutes. He had 7 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He hit a 3 in the game. I really liked what we saw from him. I hope that if you can find any kind of silver lining from this game and potentially being down Ausar, is that maybe Huerter starts getting minutes. Cause I've been thinking he deserved minutes over LeVert for a while now. So maybe this gets him his chance to finally get minutes. And then when the playoffs roll around, JB trusts him in his rotation, and maybe we don't see as many LeVert minutes. And now we have a potential another shooter that was making some pretty good plays for the Pistons and is a better finisher than people think and is able to create some plays off the dribble. So maybe that's a silver lining that you can get out of this game. But outside of that, the Pistons defense has not nearly been as good since the All-Star break. They have not been on the top of their game defensively. Offensively has been very bad. Cade's had a few really bad shooting nights. They haven't been able to hit outside shots consistently since the All-Star break. And some of their guys, some of this quote-unquote deep team, has not been deep since the All-Star break. There's quite a few guys in the rotation that just haven't played well, straight up, that have been bad. And I just feel like at some point, JB is going to have to react to that. Going to have to make a decision off of that. Again, I don't think JB deciding to play Caris, LeVert or riding with Daniss still in the second half, I don't think that's why the Pistons lost. I'm not blaming JB. I'm not saying JB lost in the game. That's not what I'm doing. But moving forward, I think there needs to be some talks about the rotation, about some of these guards. They have just been like given free reign despite how they play. I don't know. This was a rough game, man. Like I think you guys can hear it in my voice. This is a really. I think what makes it so rough is that one, it was the rematch, and you thought the team would really come out with urgency. Now I understand going down without Ausar really impacts them, but some of the defensive stuff was. This is supposed to be a defensive team, a defensive culture that they all buy into. Some of it isn't just, you don't have Ausar on the floor. Or when Ron went out, you don't have a Ron on the floor. Some of it is just blatantly, just stuff that just can't be happening no matter who's on the floor. The jumping at the pump fakes every single time, fouling nonstop. It's cool to be physical until you realize how the refs are calling the game. And now if you're just going to foul every single time, now you're just giving them free throws every time. You got to adjust throughout the game. And then the rotations on the weak side have just been terrible for 2 weeks now. Just terrible, giving up open threes. It's a lot to do with the Spurs game and it being a rematch, but it's also a lot to do with the compounding games before it that have not been encouraging. And then it's and this is just the cherry on top that makes it. That's just this is not the team that you watched for months before since the All-Star break. They've won games, yeah. They were 3-2 in this stretch, yeah, sure. But even the wins were guys are out, and don't think we even played that well in that one either, and we didn't think we played that one well in that one. I don't know. This has been a rough stretch for the Pistons, and I'm hoping. The hope is that this is not a trend. This is just the Pistons hit a spot like most teams do, where they start to hit a little bit of a wall and they have to get over it. So coming up, we'll talk about what could be the 9 to 5 replacements, Ron Holland and Ausar Thompson. If they do miss some games, how can they play without them? We'll talk about it coming up. Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5-hour energy flavor draft. It is going to be strawberry banana. It's my favorite flavor for just about everything. Sweet strawberry flavor up front, soft mellow banana finish, smooth creamy fruit profile. I absolutely love strawberry bananas. It reminds me of a fruit smoothie when you take it. It tastes amazing. There's a bunch of other flavors, though. If you're not a strawberry banana person, Hawaiian breeze, sour apple, peach mango, watermelon, strawberry watermelon, tropical burst, cherry, grape, berry, all kinds of flavors. Go make your number one pick with 5-hour energy. With all these new flavors, you can find your new favorite flavor of the 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Again, you can make your number one overall pick with 5-hour energy available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Then I've got to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, if I could find it in just a quick second. There you go. That is Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Again, less stress, less time, and more results. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. If Ausar Thompson and Ron Holland are going to be out a while, my initial reaction and prediction is that Ausar is probably going to be out a minute. And I'm going to assume that Ron will be out for a much shorter stretch of time. Again, like I said earlier, I'm not a doctor. I'm not sure how bad injuries can get with a poke to the eye. But let's just assume that they're out for both of they're without both of them for a few games at the very least with Ron. How do they replace these guys? How do they fill in the rotation? Well, we got a glimpse into what I think JB's going to do moving forward in the starting lineup. He started Daniss Jenkins at the start of the third quarter. He did not start Ron. I think that's a mistake. They started Cade, Daniss, Duncan, Tobias, Duren. I think that's a massive mistake to go with. I understand the idea behind it is, okay, if Ausar's down, you get another ball handler in the starting lineup, so now Cade doesn't have to have the ball in his hands all the time, and he can move off the ball. I get that. That's fair. But what Ausar brings to the starting lineup, he brings some of that. But what he brings to the starting lineup that we all know, like that is most important, is his defensive impact and his ability to blow up plays and guard on the perimeter and take away dribble penetration. Now, there's nobody else on the roster that's going to be able to do it at the level Ausar can, but I think that you would want to get some kind of defensive presence like that into the starting lineup so your defense doesn't just crash to the earth while he's out. So I think that I would probably rather go with Ron. I understand the hesitancy with Ron, maybe starting him. Ron's not as polished of an offensive player when it comes to versatility, playing off the ball. You can't play him as much in the pick and roll. You can't, trust him as much in the short roll. He's a much better finisher at the rim, like off of straight line drives. He's a craftier finisher, but he's not going to have the ball in his hands much in the starting lineup. So you need someone that's able to cut at right times and set screens and make the right read in the short roll, stuff like that. So I get if that's why, and he doesn't have a great handle. So if JB doesn't trust him to be like that weak side ball handler, the secondary ball handler in the starting lineup, then I understand that. But I think what Ron brings defensively would be more important to the starting lineup if Ausar's out. Now, if both of them are out for multiple games, including Ron, I think you have to consider Javonte Green. Javonte's shooting 35% from three. He's also really active defensively. Now, he's not the greatest at the point of attack. He's much better as like a roamer, much better at in the passing lanes as a hope. He's much better in those areas. But overall, I think whoever fills that position in the starting lineup, you need to have some kind of defensive juice. You need to have some kind of defensive impact, because if you don't replace that, I think the defensive numbers could crash in the starting lineup for however long he's out if you don't at least try to replace his defense in the starting lineup. I don't think Daniss is doing that for the Pistons in the starting lineup, so I wouldn't go. I don't think the offensive stuff outweigh. I don't think playing Daniss is upgrading your offense enough to make up for the potential loss you take on the defensive end. So I'd start Ron, and if Ron's out a few games as well, then I'd probably look at Javonte Green to play in that position. I won't go that much of a hot take. Outside the starting lineup, though, the rotation, if these two guys miss games, I think this should be, if we're going to look for a silver lining, this should be a big opportunity for Kevin Huerter. I hope that how he played in this game warrants him to get much more of a look moving forward. I mean, I know the Pistons got blitzed, but at the end of the third quarter, they tried to make it a game. They tried to come back. They tried to put some pressure on the Spurs, like, hey, maybe this team's trying to make a comeback. Not saying they would have won this game. I don't think they would have. I mean, the Spurs were dominating them. So I don't think that would have kept happening either way. Once Wemby got back on the floor, but they did make that run. Wemby was off the floor, and they took advantage. They did make that run, and then JB started the fourth quarter with Daniss and Caris, and it went absolutely horrible, and the Spurs extended the lead back to 15. I hope that a silver lining that you can take out of this game is going to be Huerter severely outplayed LeVert. He takes some of those minutes. Maybe Sasser gets a chance to play over Daniss. Or maybe Sasser just gets to play at all. Gets some chances in the lineup with two guys down. And maybe he plays well enough to earn some minutes. And now you get two better shooters in the lineup. Maybe that happens. But that is what I'm hoping to see if we're going to be without Ausar, Thompson, and Ron Holland. Hoping to see a lot more Kevin Huerter minutes. Heck, I'd even consider starting Huerter, to be honest. I think you should very much consider doing that. But JB doesn't, from what we've seen, it doesn't seem like JB trusts him that much. So I don't know. I take back what I said earlier. I would put Huerter right after Ron. I'm starting Huerter. If Ron's going to be out, I'm starting Huerter. But again, I don't think JB really trusts him all that much. But I also, like I said, Marcus Sasser, maybe he gets a chance as well with these guys out, and the Pistons just open themselves up to potential change to the rotation for guys who are just simply not playing well instead of continuing to smash the wrong button over and over again. I mean, I guess that's basically it. Very somber episode, very down episode. Again, it's not just because of the Spurs game. It's because of everything that's built up to the Spurs games, all the previous games, where all these things have been happening over and over and over again. They haven't looked like the team that we saw before the All-Star break. And then yet again, in another matchup against the Spurs, they really got embarrassed. And it's just, it's quite concerning. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It is quite concerning how they've looked against some of these top-level teams in Cleveland, OKC without their top guys, and the Spurs twice. I can't sit here and lie to you guys. It is pretty concerning. Unless you're, I mean, I also understand that some fans may just be in the, well, we were bad 2 years ago. They're ahead of schedule this year. I'm not going to be concerned because I wasn't expecting like a deep run anyways. I'm just happy with what we've gotten. If that's the case, I understand. That's a fair position to have. I'm not saying it's wrong. But I'm concerned about their chances of a deep playoff run if they end up matching up with certain teams, based on what we've seen now over the last week and a half against some of these top tier teams. Actually, lastly, before I know I'm running long, Paul Reed played incredible in his minutes. Did a really good job. I thought maybe the best job against Wemby. Just comes into the game, makes things happen, causes chaos, active on the glass. He's every time Paul Reed plays, he does good things. And we might be reaching the point where we need to have a Paul Reed conversation where it's like he's just too impactful and too good in his minutes to just not play him at all. And we might need to see the Pistons try to find some way to keep him in the rotation to play him, because it doesn't seem like it matters what lineup you ever play him in. He's just going to be good no matter what. And sitting good players is tough to do. So might have to have a conversation about Paul Reed. He was probably Stu had a fine game. Stu fought. He did. I'll give Stu credit. He hit 3 threes. He fought. He gave everything he had. But Paul Reed was really good. And they might need to try a way to fit him into the rotation somehow. That's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil how you guys are feeling after this type of loss to the San Antonio Spurs. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Till next time, I'll see you guys later, and peace out, everybody.